Your blood pressure's too high and life's too short. You got to stop micromanaging. You got to start leading. And I'm going to give you 4 steps to be able to make it so. Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
We don't want to change the way you do business.
We want to change the way you're thinking about your business.
We want you to have better results, happier clients, and make more money.
Let's get it started.
Welcome back to the Dental Profits podcast, where we come to you every single Friday, as you know, with tips and tricks and ways for you to have happier clients, better results, make more money, and of course, Mr. Producer, enjoy the ride.
That's right.
And today is no different. Today, you're going to want to have some notes because this is probably one of the most sought after topics that we deal with in dentistry. And the concept is called micromanaging. If you're listening to this and you're driving down the road, you're going, oh my gosh, he's talking to me. Well, you know, or maybe you're saying, you know what, maybe he knows my dentist because there's a whole bunch of micromanaging going on. This has been one of the topics that has literally been one of the most sought after topics that we've had in the last 21 years of me working with dentists and dental teams from Vancouver to Barbados and all over North America. What we're talking about is 4 steps for you to be able to stop micromanaging and start leading. And I want to give you those 4 steps. First, why is it that we're talking about this? Well, number one, as I said, because it's one of the most sought after topics. I think the second thing is this. This is one of the things that we see more often than anything else that glares at us when we walk into a practice and we're doing an analysis to try and figure out, fully examine what's going on and figure out where the opportunities are. There was one practice that we walked into, Mr. Producer. There was one practice. By the way, Mr. Producer has us deep in the bowels of the hidden bunker at the Crabtree Group you like that? In the boardroom. We are in the boardroom.
Executive boardroom.
Thank you, Mr. Producer. We are in the executive boardroom, which again is deep in the bowels of the hidden bunker here at the Crabtree Group, correct?
That's right.
So I should have pointed that out earlier. So we actually had a client several years ago whose name shall be, I tell you what, we'll call him David. David over here was a serious micromanager. And if you ask David, what is your biggest concern? David will tell you, listen, if I'm not here to be on top of these people, nothing gets done. I've got to be on there every step. I've got to be following them around. And if I'm not here, nothing happens. If you ask David, what role does she play on your team? He'd go, I have no idea what she does all day long. I don't even know why she's here. If I were not pushing her every step of the way, I can tell you this, nothing would get done. It was so bad, Mr. Producer, true story. It was so bad that when we were there doing an analysis, the lady at the front desk was on the phone and she was taking a new patient intake call. He actually left the patient he was working on in the chair and ran to the front desk while she was on the phone and was telling her what to say on the phone. Of course, she's ready to pull her hair out. She's she's like, he's driving me nuts. I can't get anything done. This is an impossible place to work. I feel like I'm in jail. This is what she told us. I feel like I'm in jail. I feel like there are people, cameras and eyes watching me all the time. I can't do anything right without him being right in my face telling me what to do. It was really, really bad. Of course, you can imagine in David's practice, the turnover was like crazy, with the exception of her. Why she stayed, I don't know. She enjoyed the beatings, I guess. I cannot imagine why she would stay. And honestly, she didn't stay for very long after that. But turnover was just crazy. Nobody liked this guy. This whole micromanaging thing created this backdrop of finger pointing so that everybody on the team was afraid of being called out by David. And so they were all trying to protect their own territory, and they were pointing fingers at each other and backbiting. It was just horrible, 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 horrible place to work. Now, what about poor David? Okay, David could get no peace because his mind was working like a clock, just ticking all the time. Like he couldn't sleep. His blood pressure was ridiculous. His face was always red, right? Because every second of every minute of every day, he couldn't even focus on what he was doing for worrying about what somebody else is doing on the team. Is she busy? Do I need to give her something to do? Like, this is the way his mind worked. It never stopped. Like when he would leave, he would make notes and leave at each, for each person for the next day of all of these things that it was just exhausting. It was totally exhausting. It wasn't working for David. Obviously, it wasn't working for his practice, and it was totally not working for the people on his team. We call it micromanaging. I call it exhausting is what it is. So this is why I'm having this conversation, is because I think about David. Every time I hear the word micromanage, David pops into my head. It doesn't have to be like that, right? It can be totally the opposite, as a matter of fact. You don't have to know what your people are doing every single minute of every single day to be able to get results. I know what you're thinking. Sean, you don't know my team. Actually, I don't know your team individually. Maybe I do. But I know this. There's a million ways for you to get results without having to be involved in the minutia and exhausting yourself and wearing out your team. And there are 4 things that I want you to know, and we're going to go in these in depth so you can get rid of micromanaging and you can start leading. And I'm going to have this conversation when we come back. Yes, a 98% acceptance rate or better is possible. Yes, you can do it. And yes, it's not as difficult as you think, and I can show you how. I've created a course specifically to cover these topics. It's called the Dental Profits Academy. New patients, existing patients, dormant patients, exactly what to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and how to do it, and what role everybody on your team plays. Intake calls, chairside, financial arrangements, reinstatement calls. It's all there, step by step. It's online, and you can learn it at your leisure. Go to thecrabtreegroup.com and click course for more information. What we're talking about is 4 steps for you to stop micromanaging and start leading. As Mr. Producer reminded me, here in the studio, though, it is always America first.
Sure is.
Am I right, Mr. Producer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do we get so many calls for us to bring out the Trump doll, do you think?
It's because he's got so much wisdom.
Is it because...
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at that, you just think wisdom, right?
That's right.
All right, so our quote of the day is from Mr. President. Let's see what he says.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
And there you have it, straight from the man's mouth. From this day forward, it is only going to be America first. So there you go. All you guys who are always wanting to see the Trump doll, that was the quote of the day from the man himself, the Trump. What we're talking about is 4 steps to stop micromanaging and start leading. I understand why you feel the need to micromanage. I want to give you 4 steps so that you don't have to have that need. Your mindset is, if I'm not on top of these guys, nothing gets done. If I don't give them steps and tasks, nothing gets done. Listen, if you'll implement and change the way you're thinking and implement these 4 things, I promise you it will make a huge, dramatic difference, not only on your blood pressure, not only on your ability to enjoy the ride, but your team will be feeling like they've been let out of jail, and you're going to end the madness and the exhaustion that you're dealing with for right now. Mr. Producer, can they read my writing?
I can, but I've had to look at it for a
So
while.
is that yes or no? Okay.
Maybe.
So here's the thing, and I'm going to ask you to stay with me through these 4 things, okay? If you really want to stop micromanaging and you want to start leading, if you want to end the exhaustion and you want to end the pressure on your team, and you really want to start getting results in a way that you can enjoy it long term, here's 4 things that you can do. Number 1, first and foremost, get with your team and develop an overall vision. What we're talking about here is a mission statement or a higher purpose. What we're talking about here is an overall purpose that spells out specifically sort of who it is, how it is, and what it is that you and your team want to be for yourselves, for each other, and for your patients. This will be your guiding principle from here on out. This now becomes the thing that everything that we are doing is trying to serve. All of the things that we are trying to implement are ultimately to serve this vision. And I would display this in a very prominent place in your practice. Second thing, once you've decided who it is, how it is, what it is that you all want to be for yourselves, for each other, and for your patients, the second thing you got to do is come up with what is like the decision-making criteria that we're going to use in everything that we do in this practice. Now, as you're listening to this, you're going, what the heck does that have to do with micromanaging? Well, think about it. The reason you're micromanaging is because you don't have a way to measure what's going on. You don't have any criteria to be able to determine if what's going on is serving an overall purpose, and you don't have an overall purpose. So essentially what you've got is you've got a bunch of people that you have to give tasks to, and then you have to stay on top of them to see whether or not those tasks are performed. But here's the thing. The people on your team are just trying to get you off their back. They're going to perform the task, but they're not going to be trying to serve anything overall, and all of it's going to come back to you, and your blood pressure is going to continue to go up, and the people on your team are going to be ready to smack you in the face, or they're going to be ready to leave, or they're going to be ready to shoot you in the head. So, first and foremost, develop that overall vision. Secondly, figure out what are the things that you are trying to serve, and then with your team decide this is going to be the criteria that we're going to use from here on out for all of our decision making. If you were to ask our senior level teams, what they would tell you is that there are basically 4 things that they're trying to serve. The first one we already talked about, trying to serve our overall vision. Secondly, we're trying to serve our patients. Thirdly, we're trying to serve our team. And then we're trying to serve our bottom line profitability. Now, there may be other things that you're trying to serve in your practice. It doesn't matter, but figure out what those things are and then use that as the filters through which all decisions are being made moving forward. Vision, patients, team, bottom line profitability. That's a great decision-making criteria. I can't imagine that there's anything else that you might want to serve, but you know what? It's your practice. There may be something else. I've got an overall vision now that is our purpose and our direction. I've got criteria laid out in the form of the things that we are trying to serve. Now that's going to be filters through which all decisions are made. The third and one of the bigger pieces of this now is, now that we've got this vision and we've got this decision-making criteria, I'm going to stop giving people tasks to perform. And I'm going to stop telling them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and all of that, right? Instead, I'm going to give the people on my team authority to be able to take this criteria and come to the table with what they think needs to happen. And that we'll talk about that in number 4. But the third step is I've got to give them authority to be able to do that, and I've got to also be willing to hold them accountable, not for what they're doing, not for the tasks that they're performing tactically, but I'm going to hold them accountable for taking that authority and coming up with what they think needs to happen using this decision-making criteria and overall to serve the vision of where it is that we're trying to go. So I'm not giving tasks, I'm giving authority, and accountability is being used to hold that authority in place. That's supposed to be authority, Mr. Producer.
I was wondering what that was. I can read the second one, accountability, but
well, it's not accountability; it's accountable.
Accountable. Okay.
So should I rewrite this? Is that what you're telling me? Mr. Producer, do you have your glasses on? Because this is very clearly. This is authority and accountable. Okay.
Okay.
We need to get you. When's the last time you had an eye exam?
Probably a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay. It's time. I'm telling you, it's time.
It actually is.
The third step is authority and accountable. Accountable for the authority. Now, here's the biggest and the final step. The final step is this. We've come up with an overall vision for who it is, how it is, what it is that we want to be for ourselves, for each other, and for our patients. We've come up with criteria that we're going to use in all of our decision making. I'm now granting the people on my team authority to be able to take these 2 things and come up with what they think needs to happen in their particular area. And I should say that. I'm going to give them an area that they are accountable for, and I'm going to give them the authority to be able to be accountable for that area and make decisions, not on their own, under the table, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I'm going to give them the authority to come up with a plan and an idea using this criteria and being able to serve that vision and bring it to the table. And that's really the fourth step of this, right? We're going to be communicating around the game plans, and we're going to be communicating around the tracking. So the fourth step of this is this. I'm going to have the people on my team that I've given them accountability for a particular area. I've granted them authority over that area. I'm going to hold them accountable for coming up with a plan that they think needs to happen to be able to serve the overall vision in that particular area that they're responsible for. They're going to take that authority, come up with a plan using this decision-making criteria and the overall purpose of where it is we're trying to go. They're going to come up with tracking so that we can measure what's working and what's not within that game plan or that strategy that we're going to be implementing. And lastly, we're going to be communicating on a regular basis, not in terms of the dentist, doctor, not in terms of you communicating to people on your team, here's what I want you to do. No. We're talking about communicating with the partner in my business who is accountable for a particular area because they have the authority over it. We're going to be communicating consistently based on that tracking and based on the game plan that person came up with. Is it continuing to serve our vision, our patients, our team, our bottom line profitability, or whatever criteria that you come up with? And ultimately, we're trying to all of us serve the overall vision. This is leadership. This is not micromanaging people with tactical performance of tasks, right? This is having partners in your business. This is how you always know what's going on because the tracking is based on the specific game plan of the area that you've made that person accountable for. You've granted them the authority not to do what they're told. You've given them the authority to come up with their plan. And we're communicating about that plan. And you as the doctor are communicating about that plan. Now we've got everybody on the team. Each person has a plan. Now it's not micromanagement. Now it's a group of people who are coming together and partnering in this business. This, in essence, is how we grow practices in a very short conversation. This is, in essence, how it is that we make it work. And if you talk to people who are working with us, they'll tell you that micromanaging is not an issue at all because we've got tracking. It's not about who's doing what. Who cares about who's doing what, right? It's about what's working in the practice. Doctor, you're now switching your thinking. You could care less who's doing what. Hey, Jenny's on her cell phone at the front desk. You know what? Maybe she's on her cell phone because she's reinstating patients. Who cares about all that? What you want to know is, what does the tracking look like? That's what you want to know, right? Is the game plan being implemented? We're communicating on a consistent basis around that. You want to know that Jenny's taking accountability for the area. You want to know that she has the authority to come to the table and talk about what's working and what's not in terms of her area, serving the decision-making criteria and ultimately the overall vision. This is literally the crux of what's going to make your dental business extremely profitable. It's what's going to lower your blood pressure. It's what's going to allow you to have a more enjoyable ride. It's going to let the people on your team out of jail, right? And they're not going to be feeling like that you're on their every move throughout every second of every day. This is an enjoyable place to work. This is not big doctor, little staff member. This is a team of people who are all partners in trying to serve an overall vision with very specific decision-making criteria. Everybody has individual authority in the areas that they are individually accountable for. Doctor, the area that you are now accountable for is probably what you want to be accountable for, right? Which is the dentistry and the patients. At the end of the day, that's why you went to school. You didn't go to school for all of the other areas and the things that are going in your practice. So your focus is now on open communication around the game plans, around the tracking. This, at the end of the day, is a beautiful thing. And this is how it is that you ultimately are going to have happier clients, better results, make more money, and enjoy the ride. Not just you, but everybody on your team. And at the end of the day, that's why Mr. Producer and I come to you every Friday, right?
That's right, every Friday.
And because it's Donald Trump's America.
That's the most important thing.
Right? So, listen, if you like this video, please share it. If you have any questions, concerns, or challenges, and I can see how you would be because we went over this in a very sort of topical manner. There's a lot of details here, but if you have questions, concerns, or challenges, you hit me up on social media. You can reach out to us at thecrabtreegroup.com, or you can post a question at the bottom of this video, and we'll be glad to support you any way that we can, because at the end of the day, the only reason we come to you every Friday in Dental Profits Podcast is for you to have happier clients, better results, make more money, and enjoy the ride. I'm Sean Crabtree. Thanks for spending part of your Friday with me. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week.